everybody, this is Pitmaster Andy G with Smoke on Wheels. We are here at Proud Souls Barbecue, Kansas City, and we are going to be doing some grilling today. The pits are lit, let's go. Today we are bringing you a Kansas City staple, and you already know what I'm talking about. We're gonna make some burn ends today, let's go. Sometimes when you've got that barbecue craving, there is only one thing that will do, and that is a good Kansas City style burn end. And that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna take a brisket point and trim that out so that we get the perfect bark on the outside of our burn ends and that luscious moist center, and it's gonna be awesome. So we're gonna start by trimming out a brisket point. And the reason we use brisket point for burn ends is because this meat is so rich and fatty and luscious. Look at that, look at all that marbling in there. That marbling is going to equate to that perfect burnt end flavor. You get the crunchy, crispy outside with all of that bark, but the inside is rich and luscious and beefy. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and trim this out and maximize the surface area we get on the outside of our burnt ends with our protein to get that nice bark and crust going. So I'm going to trim off all of this exterior fat. You can set this aside and render it for tallow. You got all kinds of options there. But we want to make sure that we expose as much of this point meat as we can so that we get that really nice classic bark. As you can see, I'm trimming away from what I am doing as opposed to down into the roast. My knife edge is always up, so I'm removing what I'm trimming versus trimming down and gouging into the meat. So we're ready to go ahead and season this brisket point up to get it onto the pit. We're going to use some of our Baron Burton's breakfast sauce as a binder, and then I'm going to use our What's Your Beef from Loot and Booty for the rub on this. It's just going to create a great bark. It's got beautiful color and flavor. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of our sauce on there. You don't need a lot. We're just going to make a thin coat to help that rub bind initially, and then let the salt in the rub do its work. It can be so thin that you don't even need to really see it on the surface. It's just enough to make the magic happen. Now we're going to give it a nice even coating of rub. And once we get this rub on there, we're just going to let that sit for 15, maybe 20 minutes so that we can really get that rub working into the meat. What's going to happen is the moisture is going to come to the surface. It's going to liquefy that salt and turn that into salt ions, which it can then draw back into the meat, and it's going to pull that flavor in and give us a really nice texture for our bark as well. And then, as always, we're going to use what's left on the board just to get the ends a little bit. Use all of that rub. Same on this side. Just going to hit all those ends with everything that's left on the board. And we'll give these about 15 minutes and they're ready to go to the pit. So we're about 4 hours into our cook. The points are looking really nice. We're gonna go ahead and let these ride, and we'll bring them in to wrap them here in just a little bit. All right, so we pulled these out of the foil. They are nice and soft. They are ready to cut into cubes, and we've got enough residual heat here that once I cut these into their cubes, we can go ahead and just sauce these, and that sauce is gonna tack up on the surface of the meat. We're gonna let it do that. If you like them a little bit tighter, if you like that sauce to be really sticky, you can throw them back in the pit for 15, 20 minutes, and that's just fine, but you don't have to do that. So we've got these cubed up. We're gonna just put them back in the pan so that we can get a little bit of sauce on them to tack up. You don't necessarily need to put them back in the pit. The residual heat from our cooker is gonna tack these up really nice. But if you like that sauce really set up and sticky on the burnt ends, go ahead and throw them back in the pit for 10 or 15 minutes. You can see that beautiful moisture just oozing out of them. So we're ready to hit these with our Smoke This barbecue sauce. You don't need a lot. We're just gonna put enough on to coat the outside and again tack up on this meat. We don't want the sauce to take over the flavor. It's almost like just giving him that nice little extra oomph to really make all the flavors here come together and pop. And as you can see, they're already starting to tack up just from the heat from the pan, but these can go back onto the pit if you'd like. They're looking good for me. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in and eat one of these things. As you can see, they're tacked up beautifully. You've got this gorgeous bark all over the outside, and then the inside has that soft center. You can see how they're just smushing in my hand. So this is gonna taste great. If I pass out, I apologize. Man, just melts in your mouth. That is what a Kansas City burnt end is supposed to be. Come on down to Proud Souls Barbecue and Provisions. Kansas City style burnt ends right here.